Okay, so I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We'd also like to acknowledge the contribution of people of African heritage in Nova Scotia for more than 400 years. We pay tribute to and are grateful to our ancestors who came before us. May our history not be forgotten. And now, on behalf of Volunteer Nova Scotia and the King's Volunteer Resource Centre, welcome to AI for Grant Writing, Smarter Tools for Greater Impact, with presenter Sean Wynot of Blue Cow Marketing. Sean is the head marketing strategist and founder of Blue Cow Marketing, where he spent over 12 years helping businesses and organizations grow through innovative, technology-driven strategies. A lifelong entrepreneur with a passion for making complex tools accessible, Sean has been at the forefront of AI and marketing automation, helping clients across Canada unlock new levels of efficiency and impact. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, Sean.
Well, thank you. And thank you for everyone for spending their evening with us here. As I was mentioned before, everybody jumped in the room. I'm battling a cold, so my voice cracks, or you see me sipping tea. That's why. We are here tonight to learn about AI tools and how it can assist you in grant writing. So I don't have a slide deck because I find using AI tools and showing it is much easier just showing you in the platform. For some housekeeping from my side, I've got the chat window open. So if you have any questions along the way, just go ahead and throw something in the chat. I'll look over and I'll see it there. And if we need more clarity, you can take your microphone off mute and we can discuss it that way. And then near the end, throw all your questions at me too, and I'll be happy to answer that. So from those who are in the room, just throw in the chat a 1 if you're using AI right now in your organization. Just throw a 1 in the chat. This is more so just to test, okay, we got people that are doing this. If you're not using AI and you're a basic, I want to learn more, then just put a 2 in there for me. If you haven't used any AI tools or you feel that you haven't used it enough to say that you've used it, throw a 2 in there. Okay, so we got people that are using it, which is great. So what we have to do is look at AI as not something that is just, hey, I'm going to click a few buttons and I'm going to walk away and it's going to do everything for me. And I can just come back and send it off as it gives it to me. And boom, we're going to get the grant. We have to look at AI, and the best way to do this is to treat it as if it is a team member, an intern, a coworker, whatever you want to call that. And we actually have clients that name their AI tools and give it actually a personality that way. And that's how they refer to it in meetings. So what we're going to be using are what are called generative AI tools. And what that means is you tell it something and it will then generate something from that. ChatGPT is the most common one that we hear of a lot, and that's the one that is most versed by people's usage. But there are other ones that we're going to be talking about today. Google Gemini, Claude, which in my opinion is far superior now than ChatGPT. And then we're going to also look at Notebook LM, which is a Google product and what it can actually do for you. So as we go through this, I'm actually going to be utilizing one volunteer organization here in the Annapolis Valley, the Center Stage Theater, which I'm a volunteer at. And we're going to be getting AI to do some deep research into that organization. And then we're going to train the AI tool to know all it can about that organization. And this is what really sets the difference between getting content out of AI and getting exceptional content out of AI is taking the time to show it, tell it, train it, whatever you want to do about who you are and who you serve. Again, if you think about that as hiring a team member or bringing in an intern, if you just say, hey, go write me a grant or go write me a letter or whatever, they're going to ask questions. They're going to be like, well, what do you want me to write about? And, how should I speak and all this kind of stuff. So we have to go through that process and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And the first thing I like to do in all my workshops is just go through those 3 platforms and just explain how the interface looks and what's in there before we actually get into doing content creation and the grant writing. So I'm going to share. I need to get access to share screen there, Carla, if you can grant me access. It doesn't have sharing turned on. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so I just got to rearrange and move your beautiful faces to the other screen so it's not blocking my vision of what I'm seeing here. So what we're seeing here first is ChatGPT, and I'm just going to make sure that my chat window is also accessible here. Um, so this is most likely the one that if anybody's used AI, they've used this one. And any AI tools that are out there, they all offer a free plan and they offer a paid plan. The paid plans are not that much. It's like $20 a month for ChatGPT. If you're doing stuff for an organization, I strongly recommend that you use the paid plan for two reasons. One, it's going to allow you to do a lot more and use the features more in depth. But two, your data can be protected, which means that all the free plans, you're technically not paying with money, but you're paying with your information. And they use that information to train their models and your information can get out there. So the paid plan is the way to go if you're going to be putting in a lot of information about your organization, or if you want to start to use it to, do biographies on, different volunteers and recognition, and especially if you're trying to do reporting for financial stuff, I would definitely never do that in a paid plan. So Chat GPT, which means that you're using chat, which is basically how you interface with it. Just like a Google search, this main bar is where you say, as it says on the screen, ask anything, right? So, but before we do that, we want to know what the settings are. See if I can move this thing out of the way here. I'm going to move there we go. Oh, got a little pencil in the corner that Zoom gives me. So in the bottom left-hand corner is where you access your settings. And for most people who have never looked down here, they don't know what they can actually do to personalize their account. So we're going to go in and we're just going to look at the personalization side. And this is where this pop-up comes up. And what you do is you set all the base features for your account. So by default, it'll say base, style, and tone. And this is how it would write content for you. And you've got some options in here. You've got professional, which is more polished and precise, friendly. Now, these are set from me and my marketing business. So, you don't have to set them the way that I have them for me. There's candid, there's quirky, there's efficient, and there's cynical that are in here. So, professional is probably the one that you would want to use for that. And then you can get down here and pick some other options that are in here. A lot of times when you're generating content, it'll by default throw a lot of emojis in there. So you have the options to say use less, use default, or use more. I don't like them, so I have mine set to less, and you probably aren't going to put emojis in your grant applications that are coming out. Also, with all these platforms is they always add new things in there. So you may go in a month's time and there's new things in here that you can change. So I would always recommend checking it periodically and seeing what is there. Fast answers is just giving you quick responses to a lot of stuff that's coming through. And then you go in and start to tell them about yourself. So, who are you as a person, more about you or your association. And then down here is the memory. So as AI starts to use your information, it will start to save things. And think of it like short-term and long-term memory. So long-term memory is what this platform has been trained on. And they call it a large language model, or you hear LLM. And that's where the companies are training it on information about, what's out there. So current events, people's writing styles. So if you said, hey, write this email like Oprah, right? It knows how Oprah speaks and it can write in that tone or anyone else. That's the large language model, the long-term memory. But when you start to go in there and say, start to say, hey, write me, an email about an upcoming workshop on AI that we're doing this month, it will start to learn that. And then as you're writing new content down the road, it's remembering those short-term things. So the memory is managed here, and it's always good to go in and just check to see what it knows, especially if you're using your account for multiple different things. So for me, I always have to check this because I'm writing content for different clients, and sometimes it'll remember things that I'm writing for the client in the memory for myself. So I go in and I can go in here and actually delete those memories from it. Or you just tell it when you're writing something, hey, this is something about our organization. Please remember this. and it will say, I've saved it to my memory. So that's another key part to remember in there. The other thing that I want to point out here is the data controls. This one here, improve the model for everyone. It is normally set to on. I turn mine off, which means that the content that I am putting in there is not able to be used for OpenAI AI, which is the company that runs ChatGPT, to train it on other parts for other clients. So I turn it off in here. Same thing if I'm doing voice, because I can go in there and actually record my voice and talk to it. Can I include my audio recordings? No, I turn all that off. So I keep it all within my paid account, which is going to be key. This is a new feature location, especially if you're geographically located and you're talking about that. You can turn this on and it will pop up and allow you to have it know your location, your geographic location when you're creating content within it. Maybe you have your account and it's just become, or you are using one for a different use and you're like, okay, now we're going to use this account for my organization. We want to wipe it out. You can come in here and say, delete all chats, right? Just clean it out. We're going to start fresh. You can do that or you can archive it. So those are the two key parts in the personalization that I wanted to point out to you within the account. Next is understanding what you can do. In ChatGPT, there's really three different functions of it. There's the basic chat, which is like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask it to do something right now. And I could say, okay, how do I do this? Or write me this, or do whatever, or generate an image for me. That's under the chat side. Then there's things called custom GPTs. What a custom GPT is it is a preset function. So for example, I've created multiple different ones over the years, and I'll show you in a second how you can go ahead and do that. But if there's something that you're doing over and over again, maybe you're writing emails that you want to send along with your grant applications. Well, instead of going into the chat and saying, write this email and then having to keep telling it, okay, no, include this and, don't use emojis, don't do this, you can create a custom GPT that's only for writing those emails, and it will already know what you want it to do. All you have to do is go in and just, hey, say, write an email about this grant application. It's going to this person, and it will follow that same structure. So to do that, there's always a section in here called Explore GPTs. And if we click on that, there's a whole bunch that are in there that are pre-made by other people. But you can go up in the top right and you can say create. So now it brings up this type of window. And there's two options. There's create, which means you just ask it what you want, or there's configure, which you can take the long road and do a whole bunch of other stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, create me a GPT that I can use to write emails for sending out my grant applications. Make sure to never use emojis and also to make them short. This may not be the way you want to do it, but I'm just going to give it some interesting stuff. Short, and also include, and also you can just go in here and just keep writing, punctuation doesn't even need to be in this part, but, and also include 3 bullet point elements from the application. Okay, so I can do that. Start by asking me to upload my completed grant application first. Then ask me, who is it going to? Okay, so we'll leave it at that. And we'll put this in here and it's going to go through and it's going to start to come back and do a couple things. So now it's starting to create this for me, right? So stick with me. This is a couple steps that are in here. And the best thing about using AI is if you're like, I don't know how to do this, tell me how to do that. And I've used other tools where I'm like, or softwares where I'm like, I'm using the software. I don't know why it's giving me this error. Can you help me? And it says, okay, sure. Can you copy and paste what you're seeing? Paste it in, and it walks it through and helps me, right? So it says, this is a solid use case. I suggest calling it grant writer or grant email writer. Does this name work for you or do you want something else? Right? Perfect. So now it's going to call it that. It's generating a profile picture. Not as important, but it's just one of the steps that are in here. You can always change the picture if you want. So it's going to go through and it's going to do that. Here's the first pass of the profile picture. Let's just see what it looks like. It'll show us over there. Okay, that's pretty good. Want to tweak anything? No, perfect again. For the sake of tonight, I'm just going to agree with everything that it's giving me as we go through this, right? So perfect. Now it's updating it again. So once it's made, all right, shaping up clean. Next piece, how do you want to handle the tone? Should it be more formal or traditional? Let's go formal. So no matter what you're making, it's going to go through these kind of steps. Um, Now, do you want to figure, oh, what's this? Next, what should we really focus on or avoid then writing? For example, should we emphasize impact, clarity, funding use, or avoid anything like jargon or long explanations? Never use long explanations. Start with the impact we will make when we get this grant. Something like that. You hear my dog barking. She's upstairs. Okay. Do you want it strictly formal and neutral? It's still formal, but with a bit of warmth. Bit of. Now, I don't actually have a document that is a completed grant application to throw in this. So you want to test it first? No. Let's publish. I'm only showing you this because I want to show you how these work when they. Okay, go ahead and hit publish. So I'm going to hit create in the top right-hand corner. Now, when you create, you've got three options. There's only me, which means you're the only one that can access this. There's anyone with a link, which means if you've got other team members that have GPT accounts, you can share the link to this and then they can do it, right? So, if you're the executive director and you want to go through and build this and then share them out to your team to be able to do that, this is how you do that. Or the GPT store, which is you're sharing this publicly with everyone. So most commonly, we're going to go with the anyone with the link. But nobody can find that link unless you share it with them. So there's the link right there. And now we're going to go view that GPT. So when we go to it, it's going to be on the left-hand side under GPTs. There's grant writing email. If you're going to use it a lot, you can say keep in sidebar, and it will always be there because as this list gets long, it only shows a certain amount. So here it is. Here's the grant writing email. And it says, write a formal grant email from this application. Help me send this grant to a funder. Turn this application into a short formal email or draft a submission email with key points, right? So if I click this, it's going to come up and it's going to say, please paste or upload the completed grant application so I can review it. After that, I'll ask you a couple quick follow-up questions about the recipient before drafting the email. Like I said, I don't have a one to throw in here because we're not going to go further into that. But if you needed to upload, there's always a plus button here that say add photo and files. And you can click on this and upload a document for that. Okay. So I have this file here that is, I think it's just a template of something which has nothing in it. So I can't even put that one in there. But if you did that and submitted it, it'll then start to ask you a question, who you're sending it to, and it starts to work through writing that content. So that's where using GPTs in ChatGPT become in handy, is they become very task specific for that. Now, if you wanted to change any of that information on the once you go to it, you can always drop it down at the top here and go edit. and then it comes back up and you can go and, make modifications to it. Or you can click on configure and throw in some more information. On that point, knowledge is key. So when you go into the configure, you're going to notice there's a knowledge button here, which says conversations with your GPT can potentially reveal part of all its files uploaded, right? So if we upload a history of our organization or a research or our mission statements or whatever as a document, now when it's writing, it references and can pull from that information as well in here. So that's where we're going to be moving to. How do we write all this for us? Maybe we don't have this as an organization, and AI can do that for us. And then we have that saved, and we can go and put them into each one that we do as we go forward. So that's the GPT. The last part, which came out this year, is something called projects. Projects are very useful for any organization or any business. What it allows you to do is create more so like I don't know the best, like a think tank or a room that you can have multiple chats in, and it's starting to learn from itself. So a project is very closed off. So if you go in and you say, okay, I'm going to go and create a new project, I'm going to call this one, and I'll use Center Stage just because we're going to be talking about that, but Center Stage Theater Grant Writing. Now, this is key at this point. Before I click create, I want to click this setting up here because once I click create, I can no longer come back and change this. I'd have to delete it and do it again. This says, by default, projects can access memories outside of this chat or vice versa. If you want to keep things closed and you don't want to be pulling in information about what this project is into other chats you're using, you want to change it to project only. That is going to be extremely crucial because if you're going in here and maybe you're going to do your financial reporting for your association and you create a project for that, you want to make sure that that information doesn't come up when people are writing, their GPTs for grant writing emails, right? You want to keep it closed and within that. So now we have this project and we can go in here and we can go and add sources to this. So this can be different things like uploaded files, text, Google Drives, Slack if you use it. But in most cases, we're uploading documents in here or text to this document. So I'm just going to leave that there for a second because we're going to come back to this as we go through and create other things in here. So that's ChatGPT. Next, we're going to look at is Google's option. So if you've got a Gmail account, you have access to Google Gemini. As you can tell, if you look between the two, if you go back to new chat here, very similar in kind of, well, if I pull this out, probably more similar that way, right? Very similar in their interface looking. Can do the same thing, but has different terminologies along the way. They don't have the project feature, but they have the equivalent to what are called chat GPTs or custom GPTs. They just call them gems in here. So you can go in and you can prompt it to do anything. You can upload files. You can, add a file from Google Drive. You can import code if you're doing any kind of web stuff. And you can also get it to create images, do deep research, create videos, now create music, or learn, right? You can say, go and research this topic and learn about it because I want to talk to you about it. So those benefits are in here. In the gems side, this is where you can go in here and you can create a new gem. Very similar, except it doesn't have the chat function like ChatGPT did. You have to go in here and give it a name, give it a description, tell it what you want it to do in here, and then upload your knowledge base. So it doesn't come back and forth in the chat feature, but it allows you to do the same type of thing. When you are loading them, you just basically just go into the chat under the gem, and you can just start to prompt with it and give it content that's in there. So that's the that's the Google Gemini function. Claude, which is another platform that a lot of people are moving to, has a lot more functionality than ChatGPT or Gemini does. Mainly because it has a desktop application that works really well. So we're looking in the website browser side of things. If I open my Claude on my desktop, there's an app for it, and it now allows me to do my chats in here. I can create projects just like I had with ChatGPT, and each of the projects, if I go into it, maybe I want to go in and I can, edit the details in here. I can go into that actual project and upload files, give it instructions, edit the memories. It's like all this works right within the platform. But it also has something called Cowork, and we're not going to dive too deep into this part of it. But what Cowork allows you to do is pick a folder on your computer, and it can actually work with files in that folder. So it can create documents in there. It can go in, it can fill in documents. It can do all that kind of stuff for you, as Coworker could do. An example I have for that I use it for all the time is I have to do a weekly report, a financial report, and send it off to 5 different clients based off of leads that are coming in. So I have this set up so that every Sunday night at midnight, it goes and looks at a Google Sheet that I have that's being fed by information. And it will then sort it by the 5 different clients, and it will draft an email and write the drafts in my Gmail account. So Monday morning when I come to my computer, all my 5 emails are drafted to each client with the reports already ready to go. Look it over, hit send, and we're good to go. So that's where the co-work side comes into it. So we're not going to dive too much into that co-work part of it. And then lastly in here is Notebook LM. Notebook LM is an amazing tool that most people don't know about. It's a Google product. It's free if you got a Gmail account, but it allows you to pull in a bunch of different sources and then have it summarize those for you. So if you're doing research, or in this case, we're going to be getting it to write a grant application, and we're going to see what each of these platforms can do for writing grant applications for us. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say, do some research about our association. So in ChatGPT, we can go and we can do deep research. So there's a deep research in there. Gemini has the ability to, here it is, it's under tools, do a deep research. Claude has the ability to do a research. So they all have that functionality in it. So what we're going to do is give it a prompt. So I've already did it before we came on because it takes 16 minutes for it to run. But I basically told it, do a deep research into Center Stage Theater located at 61 River Street, Kentville. Put in your address. Their website is this. Your research goal is to gain as much knowledge about them as possible to use in grant applications and to train a custom AI for other content. That's all I told it, and I ran it. It ran for 16 minutes, has 31 citations. It did 220 web searches to come up with this document. So it went to the website, it did all its knowledge online, it came up with the executive summary. It gave up with the organizational profile and governance, the history of the mission, their values, gave a timeline here, like a graphic of when they were created along this pattern. Gave me all the board members, who they are, what they look after, all their legal compliance information, programming model, seasonal history, all this stuff, right? So this is a wealth of knowledge that if you think back to using AI as an intern, this is the knowledge it needs to know, right? So I'd recommend if you have an AI account, go in and do a deep research on your association. Give it the website, give it the name, give it the address, and just tell it, do a deep research for us and see what it comes back with. Because now we have all this information, okay? So now that we have it, what we're going to do is we're just going to copy it all the way here, all the way to the bottom, right? The more information, the better. And I'm just going to copy that to my clipboard, and I'm going to open up a Google Doc. I'm going to paste it in there, just like that. Oh, course, we got all the background stuff. So we're gonna make the text black, and we're gonna make this none. It didn't work. Um, why is that? Let me do something different. Sometimes it doesn't copy properly. So let me just go back out of here, and we're going to download from here. So we're going to download as a PDF. It's running, it's spinning here, and it should download to my computer shortly. And if not, we're going to use it as a Word document. There we go. So we got a Word document, doesn't matter. It's in there for now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our project. Right, so there's the Center Stage Theater grant writing project. We're going to go into it, and we're going to go to project settings, and there we are going to put it under sources right there. We're going to add that file that we just downloaded. So there's the research dossier on that. So now anything that I do within this, it's going to reference in here. Okay. So I have it there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go into, we're not going to use Gemini, but we're going to go to Notebook, and we're going to say, create a new notebook. So in Notebook, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to upload that file, right? So I'm going to upload that file in here. It's in there. We can also go in here and say, okay, go and do some deep research, and we're going to put in the website. Hit that. So as we start to put in all these sources, it's going to learn that of what we need. Now, in this case, I went and already found, a sample potential grant that would work for them. So I'm going to copy that URL, and I'm going to put that in here as well. And then when I was on this page, I went down here and I was looking around, and it says how to apply funding guidelines, and takes me over to the service or this Canada website. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to put that in there as well, because we need to know the organization, we need to know the grant we're applying for, and we need to know all the rules about how to do that. Okay. And we also have all the history of the organization. So now it's in here. I can go over here and do any of these wonderful things, right? Not all of this is going to apply to this type of instance, but we have reports. And I can do a briefing document, a study guide, a blog post, but I'm going to go in to create your own, and I'm going to tell it to write me a grant application for this grant to help us obtain, let's say, 50K in funding to upgrade our theater lighting to LED. Okay, so that's all I'm going to tell it. And I'm going to say generate. So now what it's going to do, it's going to start to generate this based off of all the information it knows here. It's done its deep research. It's trying to find this. Anything that any AI creates, you need to read it and make sure that it's on point with what you're trying to get out of it. Don't always take it at face value. It's getting better, but there are some things that it may exaggerate on or may not be exactly what it is. The more you give it in your details, the better it's going to be. So I'm going to do the exact same thing over here and see what this can do. Now, the difference in this one is I can't add the website in here. So what I have to do is put it into the prompt in ChatGPT. So write me a grant application for this grant. Now I'm going to go and grab it. Oh, go the right one. Here are the requirements. So we're going to take this again. Application guidelines is what they're calling. Here are the application guidelines. We want to obtain 50K in funding to help upgrade our lighting to LED. Now, this is not an actual thing they're doing, but it makes the most sense because I know that equipment was part of that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go here first. And there's some options in here for instant thinking. What this means is instant is it's going to try to do it very quickly. If you do thinking, you're going to get a better result out of that. So if we click on this, we can say standard or extended. A lot of this is just like see what kind of output you get from things and make those adjustments from that. I'm going to pick extended because the longer it thinks, the better it's going to do. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to run that and let that go. So let's go back to the um, notebook and it's still generating. Okay, so it's going to take a little bit for that to happen. So now what it's doing here is it's going to say, I'm going to build this grant ready draft, not just a fluffy or lovely theater note. I'm going to verify the current program rules, pull the strongest center stage facts from the dossier, then shape it around the 50,000 LED lighting ask. One important catch, because the course grant rules love making a simple ask where a tiny suit CSSF normally funds about 50%. So a 50K request should be framed at roughly 100K. So it went and it read the guidelines and knew it was a 50% grant and it started to pull this together, right? So now it's starting to draft this up as a document here, pulling in all this information and pulling this all in here. The need. We'll let it do its thing. And then I'll show you some other things that you can do with this once it writes it. Now, the difference would be is if you went to ChatGPT and you just went to the new chat without giving any information and said, write me a grant proposal to get me 50K in funding to upgrade our lighting at insert association name and hit enter, you're not going to get the detailed quality of this. It's going to have to go and try to just make stuff up, right? Because it won't know the grants that are there. So, this is quite long. I think it's still writing, isn't it? Yep, still going. If you were applying for a grant and they gave you like a grant application outline of like, this is what we want on it, you could at that point, you could have uploaded that to the chat and said, attached are the requirements for the application of what they want to be seen in it. So write it around that. And it will go ahead and do that. So, okay. So there that is. Oh, it's still writing. Nope, draft done. So done. I drafted the full grant application here in Canvas for this. A couple important strategies noted. The application is framed at 100,000 because it's a 50% copay. So it gives you kind of some feedback. On the submission note, the official forms page says applicant needs to contact the regional Canadian Heritage Office to receive the application form, right? So knowing that, it's like, okay, well, we couldn't just send this in as an email. We have to fill out their form and go from there. So you could get that document and come back to this chat later and say, here's the form they gave me. Take this, what you wrote, and give me all the parts that need to go into each of these fields. And it will then go and take that and do that for you, okay? So now that we have this, we scroll to the top. I don't see any questions coming in the chat yet. So you can go ahead and click edit. And now it comes into what's called a canvas mode, which means that we can scroll through this and we can say, okay, you can highlight something in here. If, maybe you don't like how this was worded, right? You could say, ask GPT and say, I like the idea of this paragraph, but I would like it to be twice as long, right? Don't know if you'd use that, but I'm just going to show you what happens. So you go in, you put that in there, and what it's going to do is it's going to just rewrite that section of the document, right? So you can go through instead of actually like copying it to a document and changing it there, you can go through it and maybe it's like, okay, the executive summary is too long, right? This is too long. Make it more based on facts, right? We're just throwing ideas in here just for the sake of this demonstration, but the idea is that we'll start to then write for this document that's in here. So it's going to do that. It's going to think through this, and it will rewrite it here in a second. So on the left side, that's where all this stuff is happening, right? So these are all the chats that are here, and this is the actual document being used. Still going here. Maybe it rewrote it. I don't know if it, no, it's still doing it. Is this through the custom GPT? This is through the project side of it. You could create a custom GPT for the grant writing and you would have this functionality. The difference is with a project is you could write other things related to the grants in here. So maybe there's another grant that comes, 3 months later. And once you finalize this output of the way you want it written, when you do the next one, you could say, okay, based off of the final approved format of the last grant, we want to do this one. So now you don't have to go through and redo all this stuff. It'll know that information as you go through, right? I probably gave it way too much information for it's trying to do that. So I'm going to stop that there so it doesn't waste our time doing that. So now we have that in there, right? So there's the that document. In this chat, we could say, okay, now write me hold on, let me think what I could do in here. Yeah, so write me an email that I can send to my executive director to present this draft of the proposal. Come on. Let me just refresh this. My computer's doing something. There it is. Okay. So we're coming over here. There's our draft. It was just doing it. My computer just stalled out. Oh, extended the paragraph. Okay. Now I'm going to give it that prompt. Now write me an email. Oh, the other thing I can do, I don't have to keep typing this. I can hit this little microphone here and I can dictate. Now write me an email that I can send to my executive director presenting this first draft they asked me to do about this proposal. Right. And then we'll do that for the dictation side. Right. So now it goes through here and it writes that email. Same type of thing. You can go in and you can click edit when it's done and you can change it all up. So that's the benefit of using the project side is you can go and do that. Now, we'll leave that there for now, and we're going to hop over here. This is still generating. Okay, so that's going to take a while. I did one before we hopped on, and then I deleted it because I just wanted to do this live with you guys. So we're just going to see if this is actually, oh, it was just stalled. So here it is. So this is this one, right? So application profile, and it comes through and it does, the milestones here. So all the information about the organization, project narrative, right? Alignment, right? So it's got all this information in here, right? Much shorter than the other one. So what I usually find is that you will figure out which tool actually works best for your organization by trying them and seeing what you can do. Now you can get this type of output from ChatGPT by saying, make it shorter and do that kind of thing. Or you can go in and actually like try it on both. And if you like this one, say this is the format I like, use this in the future. Okay. Now, the other thing that you can generate in here, if we just close out of this and go to Studio, is you can go and do a video overview. So you could do like an explainer video, right? So you can go in here and say, create an explainer video and create a video to go with our grant application, explaining why we would like to upgrade our lighting to LED. Make it um, educational, right? So I don't know what's going to output of this, but this can generate those. It can generate full slide decks, pitch decks in here. You can do an audio. You can make infographics. So not only for this, but maybe let's say, we take or you do a training, right? So this is using AI for any type of content for an association. So maybe you do like a new volunteer onboarding training. You record it. It's on Zoom, or you just record the audio, right? You upload it into here and you say, okay, make me a slide deck, or make me an overview audio, or make me flashcards or infographics to explain it. And it will generate different content for you. Now, the video is going to take a while to make that. Um, but you can make infographics in here as well. That one's just going to generate on its own. So that's using Notebook LM for generating that content. A lot of times what I've done is used it for research into certain topics. So what we're going to do next with it is I'm just going to go back. I'm going to create a new notebook, and I'm going to say, um, go and research all the potential grant applications that are available. Can type to Nova Scotia-based um, organizations nations to help them become more accessible. Okay. And we can go and do the deep research or the fast research. So we're going to put that in there. And it's going to go and it's going to start to plan, and it's going to go and do all the online research that you want it to do for that. You can do the exact same thing in ChatGPT. So we're going to go and see what that will do for us. So we're going to come back to just a basic chat, and I'm going to say the same thing. I'm just going to dictate this because it's quicker. Go and do a deep research into all the potential grant applications for nonprofit organizations in Nova Scotia to help them become more accessible. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make sure that I do that research. And in here, I could go and pick specific sites if I knew of sites that would have that on there, but I'm going to let it just search the web and see what it comes up with. So it's going to go through and it's going to start to do this. So if we look at how we can utilize these tools, so what it's going to do is coming up with its plan. We're going to click start. It's going to compile the official federal Nova Scotia government grant programs for accessibility. It's going to search municipal and regional funding opportunities across Nova Scotia, identify private foundations or corporate grants supporting nonprofit accessibility projects, collect eligibility, application deadlines, funding amounts, contact details for each grant, and summarize the best fit grants and create application tips and resource links. That's what it's going to do, right? So it can take 10, 15, 20 minutes for it to do it, right? The deep research side of using AI is very much underutilized, or for most people didn't even know it existed in there. But this becomes very helpful for that. So we're going to let that run and do its thing. Are there any questions? I know I talked for 51 minutes. The time seems to fly, but any questions yet while that's running? So what we're hoping to do with this type of research is take what it gives us, export it to a document, then take our association or organization dossier that it gave us and put it into a chat and say, based off of all this stuff, what grants would be available to us as an organization? And then it will go through and do that. Or you can ask it a specific question about a grant and say, let's go in here and let's pick one. Let me go and see what else we can find. One that probably wouldn't be a fit for the one we have. Let's see here. Um, Here, Digital Museums Canada. Oh, it's closed. That's not going to help. We need one that's open. Canadian Heritage. Closed. That's closed. It's active. Veterans Affairs. This one might not be. So this one may not be a fit for us. Okay. So now we're going to go in here and so this can run in the background. It's going to show up down here as a chat anyway, so that's fine. It can do its thing. Um, I'm just going to go in and open a new one anyway. So we're going to go into our Center Stage Theater grant one, and we're going to say, I just found this grant. Can you tell me if we are eligible for it? Very basic, right? See what it says. Because this already knows who we are. I'll check the grant credibility or eligibility. Looks like the user might be working on a project. Deadline is tomorrow, May 1st. I think in the recommended project. Okay, so it's going through and doing this stuff. Is likely eligible as an applicant, but only for the right kind of project, right? So now it's gone through and it's figured out what is in there and it's going to say, okay, well, what is it? Best answer, eligibility. Yes. Eligibility for LED light. No, not really. So I never told it in this chat that we were going to do this for lighting. It knew it because in the project, we did one about lighting. It was in here. So I could go in here and say now, no, this is not for lighting. We want to do a show to honor veterans. Will this count? Right? Very simple stuff. Right. So it talks back to you and tells you stuff that's in there, right? So right. So we don't need to read through all this, but you get the idea is we can go and we can vet stuff. It's a lot easier than just going through and trying to read it all yourself. We can go in here and ask specific questions as you go through. So some of the other things that you can do in here while the other one's going is we can go into our one here and say, okay, let's create an image. I want to create a full page image to go with our grant application. Can you design this for me? I'd like it to be professional and clean, but follow the branding guidelines found on, put in the website, theater.ca. I'd like it to be 8.5 inches by 11 inches. All right. So we're going to go here and we're going to tell it to generate an image.
Sean, I'm wondering while it's kind of working away at all these
Yep.
things, would this be a good time to take a break, or do you want to wait for a few minutes?
Let's just wait till we do this image part here because this won't
Sure.
take that long. And then we can take
Perfect.
that break and then the other one should have its research all done
Very
from
good.
there. The image generation in ChatGPT is probably one of the better ones out there. Um, right now, if you're generating images in Gemini, it watermarks the corner with the little Gemini logo. You can't get rid of it. Um, but the benefit with generating like images in here is they're unique, right? So they're not copyrighted in any way, unless you are asking it to. Sometimes you can squeak things through. I was like, I was in there and was like, hey, create an infographic about me and compare me to Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. And it came up and it said, sorry, that breaches copyright and whatever. And I was like, okay, no problem. And then it did it anyway. So really weird. But a lot of times it can take your image. So if you have, let's say, a headshot that's like a little dim, you can upload that image and say, enhance this, but don't change any of my physical features. And it will actually like regenerate it with better lighting and everything for you. So it can help do that. Or you got different headshots from different people in your organization and they're taken from different phones and whatever. You can go in and say, I want these all to have the same look and feel, and then it just makes those things a lot easier for you, right? This is taking a little bit of time here. So let's take that break and let this generate. And then what is it, a 5 minute break, 10 minute, five?
Yep, 5 minutes is good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So I'll just mute my microphone and then I'll just continue with this when we come back. So, um, the previous ChatGPT was stalled out, so I ended up saving the image and throwing it in here and seeing what it would come up with. The logo didn't associate very well with the page, but um, when it was done, it comes in here. And what you can do when you generate an image is you can, describe the changes that you want in here. So so the logo looks like that. I'm going to re-upload it and say the logo didn't come out right. Please replace it with this. And then it will go ahead and it will do another version. Sometimes it gets it, sometimes it doesn't. It's hit or miss when you're uploading files to it, especially if they're PNG files, which means they're transparent backgrounds. But because I went through and asked it to do it again, it's probably gonna work this time. So while you're on that break, did anybody have any questions? Let's see here. Can you talk about the place for human input, reviewing, editing of what the AI program generates? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just go back to this one here. This is the accessibility grant landscape for nonprofit organizations in Nova Scotia. So this is the document that it created for that long research of what was out there. So it found 15 best fit grants in here. Right? So community grants and all this kind of stuff, right? So this is basically the long form part of deep research. Anytime that you're writing in the box down here, let me just shrink this because my icons are in the way. You can turn off the deep research and now you can ask it anything about this. So you can say, okay, this is great. Can you give me a bullet list of just the grants with a link to their websites? Right. So now it will knows everything that is above, right? Um, in there, right? So the user wants a concise bullet link. So it's going to go through there. Now it's giving me all the links to those that were in that research, right? So if it was like, Cape Breton Regional Municipality Community Grants, I can click on that, open it up, and now it's going to take me right to the page for that. So we can see how it's going to save you a bunch of time to see what's available that's out there. I'm going to go a step further and say, okay, which one would be easier to apply for if you were a community theater in Kentville? Right. So now you're just asking it knowledge that's there. Now, one of the questions is, can posters be linked to Canva? So yes, they can be in some platforms. So I think, let me see here, Claude. Let me just bring that back up. Let's see. I see the Canvas Community Investment. Okay. Where'd my Claude app go? It's in behind. No, it's over here. Um, so in here, I can go and actually link certain plugins like connectors. So in here, I've got Canva connected. So I could go in here and say, design me I'll just make something, social media post about volunteering with my company, because this is in my Blue Cow one, in and design it in my Canva account. This is how it's supposed to work. Anytime we do live demos, things don't always necessarily work as possible, but this one will do it. This one integrates very well with Canva. ChatGPT doesn't always, but if we go into here, so that did all its research in there. If we did a new chat, we could go in here and Canva's not here, but Canvas is, which is not Canva. So that's where you might have saw that. There's something called agent mode as well, which what it will do is it'll actually create like a little live employee that you'll see the box come up and it will go and it will start to like move around the mouse. So if you said, okay, go and design something in Canva, it'll ask you what's your login, right? And you can give it to it and it can go search Canva, it can log in for you, it can go and navigate and design around and do that. So that's how that I've never used it for that use case, but it can go and log into websites for that reason, for that. So let me just go back and check here. So which platform is the post for? Okay, so we're going to say Facebook, announce upcoming volunteer day. Let's do that. We're just going to see what it does. All right, so I'm assuming it did something. So let me just go into my Canva account and we'll see if something is there. Is it? Nope, so it didn't do it. So that proves that it didn't do it, or I missed a step in there. I haven't used it for Canva, but that's the idea is it's supposed to be able to do it for that. It's easier just to go into Canva and design in there. Then AI is not the best at doing that. Um, I have gone in and used ChatGPT to design things, excuse me, and then take that over into Canva and have Canva print it, right? Send it to their printing and then have it come. So for example, like this here is all ChatGPT designed this for me. I just put it in here and then I can go ahead and send it to ChatGPT's or not ChatGPT's to Canva's printing company and then they'll within 3 days it's at my door, all printed, ready to go in there. So that becomes helpful for that. Um, let's just see where we're at here. The notebook one. So this is the one that I got Notebook LM to do that research about all the grants. So it came up with, this comprehensive strategic analysis for funding document and then all the sources. So now I can import all those into the document. So it's going to import all those resources for this, right? These are all the websites that it found relating to grant applications and things within Nova Scotia. So it takes a few seconds for it to input. And then you can go and start to ask it like the middle window could be like ChatGPT, right? What are some of the best grants? What are this? How can we do this? Or we can generate a report from it. So these are going to take a while to come in. Right, so it didn't fix the logo in there. So like I said, it's not always the best. And you always have your different versions. You can go back and forth within them. You can change your aspect ratios too if you're doing some social posts in here. So I've done most of ad designs and things within ChatGPT. And the benefit too is these platforms know the other platforms. So, um, I've been in my Claude account and I'm saying, okay, we're going to do a social ad campaign on this topic for the month, come up with, 7 different posts and then give me the prompts I need to give ChatGPT to generate images to match those posts. And it will do that. I just copy it from there, paste it over in ChatGPT, and it generates the image perfectly for what it needs to do that. So you can utilize multiple ones back and forth for that. Jim, did I answer your question about the input? What was something specific about it that you were looking about? You can come off mute if you want and just
Yeah.
ask it.
I don't know if I have something specific, but I guess and maybe not so much about the things you've been talking about particularly,
Mhm.
but just the, I guess I sort of come into this conversation really with a lot of ignorance, but worried that in some sense the kind of intellectual process that goes into creating things
Mhm.
gets there's a danger in losing that in a way to the machine. I'm not being very clear, but you've obviously thought about things like that. But
Yeah, absolutely. So, just on that point, so I showed you how to generate the research into the organization, but then
yeah,
there comes into the writing style and things like that. So, I do a lot of work with thought leaders, financial advisors that are creating courses and content and all that kind of stuff. And they have a certain way that they write their content and everything. So what we end up doing is getting samples of their writing. So whether it was emails they've sent, so I usually get, the last 15 emails that they sent out, or, any type of long form content or blog post or anything like this, and save it all in one long document and upload it into the knowledge and say in there, only utilize this for learning the writing style, not necessarily the content that is being spoken in there, right? So, you know, AI content is notorious for putting what are called these M dashes in their content, which is these long dashes between things. And you're always going to fight with that from time to time. But when I do mine, I've told it a couple times, never write with that. Use like I use dot 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 sometimes in my writing. Um, and it starts to generate that content over time. The more you use it, it
mm,
becomes knowing who you are in there, right? So
yeah,
more so like if you're gonna start to use it for a grant and then you've done grants before, um, upload those in there as the knowledge document for how you like the grants to be formatted. Because it's the same way as just giving somebody one to be like, hey, reference this and write the same way, same structure in there, but with the new content,
mm,
right?
yeah. Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, so you can do something like here, I'll show you something interesting. Wait for time. We got a few minutes. I'm gonna go back to the this one here because it knows who it is. So write a paragraph explaining who we are to a university. Here, there you go. Type university graduate. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it to do this. So it's thinking, it's coming up, so it explains, who we are in that format. Now explain this to a third grader. Right? So now it's using different language that they would know, right? So it can start to structure different things for different audiences that are there. It could do things like, can you write this in French? I don't know if it will. I've never actually done that. Okay, so it can translate to different languages here. So maybe you have to apply for something in bilingual and it can actually translate it for you in there. So um, that becomes helpful. So the more you ask it, you can start to play with that. So um, now I can say, what I'd like you to do is um, come up with a writing style for this project that is in between the graduate and the third grader and always output content in that style. Absolutely. So for this project, I'll use clear community grant style, right? So it starts to come up with that, and now it will actually, like if that's it, then it's perfect, right? So now I've told it to remember to do that, and that project, just this project alone, over here on the left side, is only going to be for that style, right? So just tell it to remember things, and it can do that. Um, Okay, so those are all imported. So now in here, just the last part of this is we can tell it to or ask it any questions, right? So which grants are available no, not this month, it's ending, next month. Notebook is the slowest because it has a lot more information that it needs to reference. In that case, 52 sources it's going through, but you're going to get the most accurate stuff out of this one. Um, Now, I could have asked it to export all this into a document and then imported that over to ChatGPT and then referenced it that way. But so it's giving me that output from there. So uh, oh, translation's actually pretty good. I don't speak French, so I just hoped it was correct that was in there. So any other questions? We're got 10 minutes left. Um, and it could be about this, it could be about any AI related aspects. One thing that I want to show you before we close, and I do this, the mobile app for Chat, well, actually, any of them have this. And when I'm driving, I pair it to the car. And I'm going to see if I saw this button here about sharing audio. Share computer sound. There we go. There's a little button here, and it says use voice. This is not voice dictate. This is using the voice mode of AI, right? So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to have a conversation with it. So I'm looking to come up with a way to bring in new volunteers to our organization for a volunteer drive. We are a local community theater, but we want to do something a bit different than what normally would be done. What would be some ideas that you would have?
All right, Sean, let's shake it up. Forget the typical volunteer please plea. How about a behind the scenes experience night where potential volunteers get to step into the wings, test out the lights, or try on costumes? Basically, a backstage pass event. Toss in a mini improv workshop so everyone has a laugh. Or maybe host a scene stealer coffee night where current volunteers share hilarious or heartwarming tales. You want them feeling like they're missing out if they don't join the troupe.
I love that idea. Can you help me write content for a poster to bring this on? Let's say we're going to do this May 15th at 7 o'clock.
I'd love to help with that, but since you've got a pretty specific style, I want to do it justice. What tone are you imagining? More playful and cheeky or a bit dramatic flair?
Well, we like playful people, so let's make it playful.
All right, let's dial up the fun. Picture this at the top. You've seen the stage, now own it. Then we hit them with, join us May 15th at 7 p.m. for our behind the scenes bonanza. Get a taste of lights, laughter, and all the backstage secrets. You don't just watch the show, you'll be part of the magic. Coffee, costumes, and maybe a bit of improv. Don't miss out because every star's story starts with one night backstage.
Perfect. Are you able to create an image for this?
I can't generate an image directly here in voice, but I can definitely help you describe what it should look like. So tell me, do you want something bold and colorful or more quirky and theatrical? I'll give you a visual direction you can hand off to a designer or whip up yourself.
Okay, give me a prompt to put into ChatGPT for a bold and colorful design.
You got it. Here's what you can pop into a design tool. Create a bold, colorful poster for a community theater volunteer drive. Headline, you've seen the stage, now own it. Date, May 15th, 7 p.m. Theme, behind the scenes bonanza with backstage elements, stage lights, costumes, laughter. Include playful fonts and bright colors. Think theatrical reds, spotlight yellows, and a hint of drama. Invite the viewer into the action.
Okay, so what we're able to do is like if you engage that, you can have like I've driven from the Valley to Halifax and chatted the entire time, coming up with fleshing out an idea for an event or a marketing campaign or whatever it is. And then when I got back, all that stuff was already in my chat. So, at this point, I can go in here and say create image, do this. Right now, it's going to generate that image that it just came up with for me in here. So the voice chats are very helpful. The other thing that you can get when you do an output, let's say it's doing an email, is at the time of getting it. So let's just get one here. Just going to find a chat here. That's not it. This is postcard designs. Let's see if I find one here. Facebook ad ideas. Oh, that's not it. So there's the ads. I'm just looking for one that was not images.
I can't believe how much they've changed. That there's so many features in this. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Image. As you can tell, I use this mostly for image generation. Yeah, creatives.
Does it make coffee though?
Ah, I don't know. So if you output something, you can go to the bottom and go read aloud.
Now, this is a strong move. That dusty tone hits a really nice middle ground. It's
Right.
got
So it's
personality, but
actually
it's still calm.
dictating what it
And
is that
most
you
important,
had written. Because sometimes hearing it back will help you, it'll resonate better with you than just reading it on the screen. So having that read aloud is helpful. So here we go. So there's the image that it generated for that event based off of what it told me, right? So community theater volunteer drive, you see in the stage, now own it, behind the scenes bonanza, May 15th, 7 p.m., all the text, come and see the fun, happiness, right? So pretty cool design. We can bring it up and I could give it describe edits, be like, okay, too busy, like make it more simple. And it can go and do that. And then you can download it. And the quality is quite great. Like you can print that full page and it won't be blurry in there. So
Wow.
yeah. So it's come a long way and there's a whole lot
Mm.
more that you can do it with it. Um, Claude, no, Gemini has a product called Gemini Studio, which is also included. But there's a feature in there where you can turn on the browser plugin and you can turn on voice. And as you're surfing through the web or you're reviewing a website or whatever, you can talk to it and be like, what do you think of this? Like, do you like this? And it would give you suggestions. Um, the other part of Notebook in here with the audio summary, and I've done this with podcast episodes where it's been like a half hour or a presentation. If we took the presentation recording from this, it'll give you an 8-minute summary of this whole training. And you
Wow.
can go in and you can do live mode. So as you're listening to it, if something pops in your head, you can interrupt the AI and be like, oh, wait, well, like, can you explain that more? And the two
Wow.
hosts will then answer you and give more context to it live. Like
That's
it's
amazing.
unreal.
Yeah.
So students are taking this and they're uploading like entire textbooks and they're just like listening to summaries of topics and learning that way. So that's the goal of
Wow.
Notebook.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and looking at the time, we should probably, wrap this up. But thank you so much, Sean. And thank you for everybody who participated. And if you enjoyed this, you could see Sean in a couple of weeks on May 13th, because he's going to be back for our symposium and he's going to be doing another workshop on AI. Let's see. So the symposium is going to be at NSCC. So visit our website, sign up. It's going to be fun. Hope Swinimer, Hope for Wildlife is going to be our keynote speaker. So anyway, it's a fun day. Thanks again, Sean.
No problem.
And Carly's going to send everybody a survey, so I hope you all fill it out. And anyway, we really appreciate everybody who took part. Thank you very much, and good night.